Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Thank you to Mr. Jin for a great speech outlining the future and the framework, I think, for one of the most exciting institutions we've seen come out recently. And the AIIB, I think, represents more than just an investment bank, infrastructure investment bank. It also represents, I think, many of the ambitions and the hopes that China has moving forward, and I think this is partly why it's of such great interest. So let me maybe start out where Mr. Jin left off. You spoke about the world-class policy documents and the best practices that you have been able to put together. Can you, as we know, and I think as you touched on in the last bit of comments, the real key is going to be implementation. Can you talk a little bit about why you think perhaps the Western multilateral institutions, financial institutions, have areas that need improvement on, and particularly where you see, what mistakes you see are most intent on correcting? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You see, the question was raised from the very beginning, whether it was necessary or whether it was cost-effective to set up a new bank. Why do you just put money in the existing institutions, the World Bank, AIIB, and enlarge their capital base so that they can do a lot of things you want to do? And some people say it's absolutely unnecessary to have such a bank because they are very much worried about the competition with existing institutions. So there were various kind of questions, but I think the most serious issue on some of the mind of these skeptics is that this bank would be a bank of low governance, low quality, with total disregard to environmental protection, to protection of the displaced people. This is the true concern. So we need to do a lot of work. Clarification certainly is necessary, but what is most important is to produce the articles of agreement and policy papers. They would speak volumes about the necessity and validity of having a new type development bank. First question, why should we have a new bank? My question is, why not? The Bretton Woods institutions were set up 7 decades ago in the wake of the Second World War. Actually, when the Second World War was still raging, it's not completed, you know. The Bretton Woods institutions were set up. Half a century ago, AIIB was set up, initiated by Japan, even when the United States was ferociously opposed to that. Finally, the United States agreed, and we had AIIB. Quarter century ago, we had EBRD in the wake of the fall of the Berlin Wall. So you'll find in each and every historical stage, there will be new multilateral development institution to meet the needs at that time. So any institution leaves room for improvement. Any institution was set up with a very specific mandate. So in the world today, in Asia, we have a huge backlog of infrastructure investment, which constitutes the bottleneck to the sustained economic development and social development against the background of climate change and serious environmental issues. So we want to have a new bank with a different mandate to meet the needs which should be complementary to the existing institutions, not a rival.
Let me just follow up on that. I think the AIIB mentioned trillions of dollars of unmet infrastructure requirements between 2010 and 2020. The AIIB has capital of just $100 billion. Can you talk about how much of that you're going to be lending each year, and how you're going to go about increasing the capital base, and from whom, given this enormous requirement?
According to ADB's statistics and conjecture, and also some other institutions' calculation, there will be a shortfall of almost 10 trillion US dollars deficit in infrastructure investment in Asia for the next 10 years' time. But this is just a conjecture, and this is the aspirational target. No institution could meet such a gap. But the gap is there. So with 100 billion US dollars as a registered capital, you certainly do not expect us to fill this gap. Now, World Bank has registered capital, $253 billion. ADB has $160 billion. Certainly not enough. And we have 100 billion. It's a supplement, not very much in dollar terms. But I think we can contribute in many different ways by cooperating with the World Bank and ADB. These two institutions have been focusing on poverty reduction, direct intervention with poverty reduction. They certainly invest in infrastructure, but because of the target for poverty reduction, there's not much left. We do not take poverty reduction as our clear mandate. We take infrastructure investment as the mandate because we believe only infrastructure investment could pave the way for broad-based economic and social development, thereby helping with poverty reduction. So you see, we have certainly overlapping in infrastructure investment because these two institutions also invest in infrastructure, but we have different, distinctive mandate. By working together with the World Bank, with ADB, with other institutions, including AIIB, we can leverage the private sector capital. So this is our contribution. And also, I think we try to explore the possibility of developing a new type bank with new modus operandi, a new approach to dealing with economic social development. So we intend to be more cost-effective. We will not doing something which has been done by these institutions already. We would put our limited resources on crucial areas so that we can achieve the maximum of the benefit. This is a very important complementarity which could be expected from this institution. And I can assure you, and I can show everybody here, we have already enjoyed strong support from the World Bank, from ADB, from EBRD, from AIIB, and many other institutions. Instead of cutthroat competition, we work like great partners.